ॐ विश्वं दर्पणदृश्यमाननगरी तुल्यन्निजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिरिवोद्भूतं यथा निद्रया यस्साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयं तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये बीजस्यान्तरिमाङ्कुरो जगदिदं प्राङ्निर्विकल्पं पुनः मायाकल्पितदेशकालकलना वैचित्रचित्रीकृतं मायावीव विजृम्भयत्यपि महायोगी वयस्वेच्छया तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः 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 सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ॐ Verse 2 and 2. स यत्तत्रेक्षते किञ्चित् तेनानन्वागतो भवेत् दृष्ट्वैव पुण्यं पापं च इत्येवं श्रुतिषु डिण्डिमः. So Vidyaranya is talking about a method of inquiry used in Upanishad in general, and he points out that aim of Upanishad is first to turn attention of a seeker from Bhogya Prapancha to Bhokta. So it talks about a self-inquiry, leaving aside Bhogya Prapancha. So now attention is on Bhokta. And thus Bhokta is introduced by Upanishad in a composite entity. Atma being Brahman, then how can you say self is Bhokta? Means Bhokta is a mixture. So two components are there. So anybody says I. Well, Jnani or Ajnani, anybody. Definitely it is a mixture. I of a Jnani, I of a Ajnani. It's always a mixture. Mixture of a Sakshi and Ahankara. Chit Chidabhasa, and they are inseparable mixture. It's an inseparable mixture. So there is so because pure Sakshi will not have a I, can never say I. To say I, you require mind. The Sakshi is free from even mind. Therefore, Sakshi is Sakshi. He is a limitless consciousness. There is nothing other than limitless consciousness, and therefore there is no mind itself. Therefore Sakshi cannot say I. And pure Chidabhasa also cannot say I am. There is no such thing as called pure Chidabhasa. Reflection of sun, pure reflection of sun. Sun is already there. Without sun, where is reflection? And therefore existence of a Chidabhasa definitely requires a Chaitanya. So, like there is no pure rope snake, without the support of the rope. So, Bhokta is always a mixture. Of these two, Chidabhasa alone is Bhokta. When you say I, and Shastra says Bhokta, Navarih Patyuk Kamaya Patipriyo Bhavati, Atmanastu Kamaya Sarvam Priyam Bhavati, Pati Priyo Bhavati. Atmanastu Kamaya, Atmanastu Bhogaya. So that's how Bhokta is introduced. But Bhokta is not a pure entity as such. So when person says I, for my sake I enjoy everything, that I which is Bhokta is a mixture. And that I, he says I itself proves that it is not pure Sakshi. Pure Sakshi can never say I. And Chidabhasa. Chidabhasa also cannot say I. Because the very existence of Chidabhasa is possible because of the Chit. And therefore, definitely this Bhokta I is a mixture. And of these two, what is really bhokta? Then that Chidabhasa alone is a bhokta. Sakshi is basically a bhokta. So bhokta is mixture of bhokta Chidabhasa and abhokta Sakshi, which is definitely there. Chidabhasa is there, well then definitely a support of Chit also is there, Sakshi is there. And this Chit is not known by the spiritual seeker. So Upanishad does not mention initially that it is a mixture, etc. But it talks about a self-inquiry as a bhokta inquiry. It begins with that. And once student has come to the self-inquiry, Upanishad educates student that bhokta inquiry is nothing but a mixture inquiry. And that is, so this inquiry is done by a particular method. We can, here it is this, in Brihadaranyaka it is a method of avasthatraya viveka. What we are talking right now in this particular verse, that is a Brihadaranyaka Upanishad Vakyam based on that, but it is avasthatraya viveka. And through that avasthatraya viveka, bhokta is refuted and abhokta sakshi, atma which is left, that is my real nature. So Vidyaranya wants to connect to this this particular section of Brihadaranyaka Upanishad to Brihadaranyaka Upanishad original 4.4.12, which in fact the whole chapter, 7th chapter is based on that. So Atmanam chet vijaniyat ayamasmiti purushah kimichan kasya kamaya shariram anusanjvaret. That's 4.4.12 is under this discussion. To explain that 4.4.12 and in that also the particular portion called kasya kamaya, Vidyaranya takes an example of Brihadaranyaka Upanishad again. And that is right now, that is Swayam Jyotir Brahmana, 4.3.15 to 17 is been quoted here in this 2.1.2 as example. So we should know this, that what is under discussion is Swayam Jyotir Brahmana, but that's an example to prove the mantra, total explanation of the mantra of Brihadaranyaka 4.4.12, that is Shariraka Brahmana. And so Shariraka Brahmana is under discussion, total discussion in the chapter 7 of Pancadasi. In that Swayam Jyotir Brahmana, this particular mantra 15 to 17, which talks about avasthatraya viveka, in order to make a person understand that Atma is really abhokta, sakshi. This is how we have to understand. So, because Brihadaranyaka Upanishad is a very voluminous, and unless we have in mind a topography of this Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, it looks like a forest. So we are studying this. And before that also example has come of a Maitreya Brahmana. Navare patyu kamaya patipriyo bhavati atmanastu kamaya samadhi. That is also Brihadaranyaka. Yeah, that is a Maitreya Brahmana. That is 2.4. And right now we are discussing Swayam Jyotir Brahmana 4.3. Both are examples to prove kasya kamaya of Shariraka Brahmana. So kasya kamaya means where basically to prove that Atma is a bhokta. For that, these two are examples, Maitreya Brahmanam and Swayam Jyotir Brahmanam. Maitreya Brahmanam 2.4, second chapter, 4th Brahmana. Swayam Jyotir Brahmana is 4th chapter, 3rd Brahmana. And mantra 15 to 17. So in this Brahmanam, now in each avastha, well, I experience pleasure and pain, etc. An experience need not become need not be owning up the experience. When I experience a sorrow, that's a fact. But when you say I am sorrowful, that's a owning up the sorrow. So drashtva eva, says here, drashtva eva punyam cha papam cha. Drashtva eva means, well, I experience in pain. That's a description of right now a sapnavastha. So avasthatraya viveka, as I told you, but right now it's a discussion on sapnavastha. So drashtva eva means I experience pain in dream. But I only experience, but don't own up as my attribute, what I experience. So ownership is basically ignorance. I am experiencing, dream sorrow, that's fine, papam. And punyam means definitely sukham. So definitely I experience a dream, a sorrow. I experience even a certain pleasure also in a dream. But I don't own up. It's an example. I don't own up, because when I wake up, well, I drop dream sorrow and dream pleasure both. and I say I am free from the sorrow. The waker says I am free from the sorrow, I am free from the pleasure of the dream. Easily drops, even though he has experience, but he doesn't own up. Only thing is, condition is he has to wake up. That's the only condition. One has to wake up. In order to say that I experience, but yet I don't. I don't say I'm sorrowful or I am a happy, based on dream experience. Same way, in every state, well, every experience is basically perceived, but not possessed. Punyam cha papam cha drishtva, sukha dukkham drishtva eva, only perceiving. Eva indicates perceiving. Sukham dukkham drishtva, sukham dukkham anubhuya. Having experienced sukha or dukkha in a dream, eva means I experience only, but I don't own up. That is indicated by eva, only. Tena ananvagato bhavet. Well, therefore, I don't take them unto myself as possession, that I am sorrowful, I am happy. No. So when I come to waking, well, definitely I drop them. And that's in 13th chapter also Bhagavan said, Nirgunam Gunabhoktrucha. Atma, well, is Gunabhoktru, experience. Atma is an experiencer of everything, but, well, definitely at the same time, Nirgunam. It's free from guna. It doesn't possess any guna. He experiences, Atma experiences all gunas, but does not own up the guna and says, I am Saguna, etc. Well, I am Nirguna only. So, Atma is perceiver, but it is free from the perceived attributes. Iti eva Shrutishu Dindimaha. Well, in this manner, Shruti proclaims that Sakshi is basically Bhokta. Right? Sakshi is Abhokta. Right? You experience everything in any state, but you definitely don't own up anything. And very beautiful example is a example of a dream where you easily, when you just wake up, you say you experienced all dream objects, either as objects of sorrow, objects of pleasure, but when you wake up, you say you experienced that, but you say I am not sorrowful, I am not happy. You easily drop them. Therefore, experiencing in various states is there. And he is going to discriminate how Chidabhasa and Chit, very based on this, very wonderful thing. Based on this, he is going to say what is who is a Chidabhasa, who is Bhokta and who is not Bhokta, who is a Sakshi and who is just a Chidabhasa. Okay. So, iti Shrutishu Dindimaha. Dindimaha means a proclamation. Proclamation in the Shruti, the Sakshi is Abhokta. Verse 2 and 3. जाग्रत स्वप्न सुषुप्त्यादि प्रपंचम यत् प्रकाशते तद्ब्रह्माहमिति ज्ञात्वा सर्वबन्धैः प्रमुच्यते. So another quotation of a Kaivalya, and this is a whole mantra has been, quoted here, bodily lifted by Vidyaranya from Kaivalya Upanishad. Now the only thing is, there are two different books. In that, this appears, this particular mantra appears in the first chapter, 18th mantra in one book. In a second book, it appears as the first chapter, but 28th, first chapter, 17th mantra, I'm sorry. But in other book, it appears as the first chapter's 28th mantra. What book I have, in that first chapter has only 19th mantra. So in this mantra is a 17th one. So this is just by the way. That's how they have written. If you have a book, Pancadasi book, it is written Kaivalya Upanishad 117 or 20. How can it be like that? It should be either 117 or it should be 120. But because two different books are there anyways. In one book there are few additional mantras. Anyway, now it says here, the essence of this, let me tell you, the essence of this mantra is that I am basically perceiver, experiencer of pleasure and pain. Chidabhasa is a possessor of pleasure and pain. That's the difference. I, the Sakshi, is, basically perceiver. You take this perceiver, I'm going to replace that word. Basically, I illumine them. That's what he is going to say, Yat Prakashate. Anyway, but for a time being, please keep it. So I am basically a perceiver of a pleasure and pain. Chidabhasa is a possessor of a pleasure and pain. That's a big difference between the two. So prapancham, Jagrat, Swapna, Sushuptyadi prapancham. Prapancham is this universe, right? Which is threefold. Jagrat prapancha, while in Jagrat avastha, Sukshma prapancha in Swapna avastha, and a blankness in deep state. Because the avastha traya prakriya, I told you, here it has been employed. So blankness of a deep sleep state, which technically we call karana prapancha of a deep state. While so Jagrat, Swapna, Sushuptyadi prapancham. The prapancha and includes definitely pleasure and pain, certain objects of pleasure and pain. Yat prakashate, here prakashate should be taken as a prakashayati. Yat prakashati, illumines in all the three states various objects of experiences. So basically here it illumines. So, and here it says Jagrat, Swapna, Sushuptyadi. Now then definitely Adipadat you need a Adi means etc. So more than three states are also there. So we'll have to go to Mandukya now. But anyway, I'll just mention Nanta Pragnam na Bahish Pragnam, that seventh mantra. You know, if you remember, there is so there it said Nanta Pragnam na Bahish Pragnam na Ubhayatah Pragnam na Pragnana Ganam na Pragnam na Pragnam, etc. etc. So, na antapragnam is the consciousness which is, I mean, it's a description of antapragnam. One who is conscious of the inner world, that is a swapnavastha, taijasa. So, na antapragnam is a negation of Atma is not a taijasa. Na antapragnam. Na bahish pragnam, definitely, is a description of the waker. You can understand that. Well, so, and na ubhayatah pragnam, that is where the thing is. So, the ubhayatah pragnam means, well, sometime, one that is conscious of both. One who is conscious of the external world, Vaker, Vishwa. One who is conscious of the inner world only, that is Taijasa, indicating Sapnavastha. And one who is conscious of basically this waking and dream. So it's an intermediate state of a mind. Somebody asked me here recently also one question. In English they use a word which begins with F. I don't remember. So but they say that these are the certain intermediate states, and like a daydreaming. Well, daydreaming has an element of waking as well as dream. So like they say, in a deep sleep state, there is sometime a person is not fully awake, and at the same time person is not fully in a deep sleep state. That this all is Ubhayatah Pragnam. Ubhayatah Pragnam, which is, well, both. Conscious of both. Of course, now Ubhayatah Pragnam means which is not even an intermediate state. So, when there is awareness of both the states, either you say dream and deep sleep state, or a waking and a deep sleep state, etc., or else waking and dream, like our daydreaming. All this have been included here. Okay, and so this is Adi Padat. We have to take all these things. Or we have to take experience of samadhi or some extraordinary experiences that you can consider here. So anyway, Jagrat, Sapna, Sushuptyadi. So what is left out is all these other intermediate states. So that otherwise Adi, people used to write Adi every time. Like, they say, sense organs, etc. That's okay, sense organs, etc. means you have to include organs of action. Then sense organs of action, etc. Now what we will add? Okay, let's add mind now. Because mind also has been told as a Indriya by Bhagavan. Ekadasham, right? So therefore, I include mind. So then this is sense organs of action, mind, etc. Somewhere you stop this etc. etc. I don't know, somehow Adi, they keep on adding. Indriya Adi. Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti Adi. Stop. Adi means you have to add something then. From where will you bring all the time Adi? So therefore, anyway, this is just by the way. So in Mandukya, that intermediate states are mentioned, that we are saying here and that intermediate state has been mentioned under Na Ubhayatah Pragnam. Atma is not even this intermediate state. Atma is not a waker, neither a deep sleeper, neither a etc. etc. Na Pragnana Garma indicates he is not a deep sleeper also. This is by the way. And Na Anta Pragnam indicates He is not a Taijasa. Na Bahishpragam indicates he is not a Vaker also, Vishwa also. Anyway, so basically then Yat Prakashate. So Jagrat Sapna Shushuptadi Prapancham Yat Prakashayati. That's it. So basically he illumines all the three states, various experiences, objects of experiences, illumines. So when you use a word I associated with a Jagrat Prapancha, well, that is Vishwa, Chidabhasa. When you use a word I associated with a Sapnavastha, then it is Taijasa. When you use the word I associated with a deep sleep state, it is a Prajna. But when you associate with all the three, you are not a Chidabhasa. Why? Because you are there in all the three. When you use with all, that when I wake up, I slept, I am dreaming, or I dreamt, I slept, and I now am waking up. Right? Now when you use I for all the three states, that I cannot be Chidabhasa. A I associated with one state is Chidabhasa. I associated with all the three is Sakshi. Means that I which is there in all the three states illumines all the three states. That's what he says. Jagrat Supna Shushuptyadi Prapancham Yat Prakashayati. And illumining also is not an action. Surya Prakashate. Prakashate is not a verb. Surya Prakashate. Oh, sun illumines. It doesn't do any illumination action. Just you are self-conscious in presence of you, everything is illumined. That is the real sense of a Sakshi. People think I witness. I am a witness. I witness my mind. When they say I witness my mind, definitely they put witness, they use the word witness in this sentence as a verb. And verb denotes an action. So I witness my mind. I now witness my mind. Okay, once you come out of the deep sleep state, come out of the meditation, what will you say? No, now I don't witness my mind. This also is witnessed. Understand this. This is a very wrong understanding about the meditation of a Sakshi Bhava. You are ever witness because you are self-conscious and revealing all the time, and therefore in your presence everything is revealed. That's called Sakshi. Everything is revealed, not you reveal something. You in your presence, which is self-revealing, you are self-conscious, and consciousness by nature, everything is revealed. Sun never illumines. Sun is. And in its presence, all these systems, whatever, Prithvi, etc., all are illumined. That is called Sakshi. And otherwise, I am right now witness of my mind. I am witness of my mind. Is a useless thing. It may be a good step for preparing your mind. That's okay. Because once you witness your mind, you are alert to your mind, then definitely mind stops moving around, and so it will be with you for a time being. So that's a good step. But witnessing, I witness my mind is not a meditation. But how are you saying, Swamiji, all this? Please listen to Puja Swamiji's meditation. He has mentioned this specifically in meditation. For a length of time he said that please, this is not meditation. Meditation is understanding yourself as a consciousness in which everything is revealed. Shrotrasya shrotram, manaso manaha, vachoha vacham, pranasya pranaha, chakshusha chakshuhu. In your presence I see. In your presence basically, everything functions. That's what it means. But how can it functions? By being non-separate, it can function everything. It functions. Existence and revelation of everything and the function of everything is just because of consciousness. And therefore, basically, not this is witnessing, etc. Is a totally wrong path of Goenka and all other people. Anyway, so I associated with Jagrat Prapancha is Vishwa, same way Taijasa Prajna, as I told you. But when you say I wake up, I slept, I dreamt, then that I is common in all the three. That is Sakshi. Because simultaneously I cannot be Vishwa, Taijasa and Prajna, because all the three are mutually exclusive. I associate with one state is Chidabhasa. I associate with all the three is Sakshi. Tadaham, that Sakshi I, Brahma ahamasmi, Brahmasmi, none other than this Brahman, iti gnatva, well, by knowing this, sarva bandhaihi pramuchyate, I am free from all the bandhas. All the bandhas belong to Chidabhasa, not to me, basically. Because Chidabhasa is bound because it is always non-separate from the medium. And so whatever the medium is there in the mind, that is how the Chidabhasa also will appear. So Chidabhasa is all the bondage. So Sarva Bandhaihi Pramuchyate, knowing that I am the witness of all the three states, well, definitely the person is released. And the main bondage is Bhoktrutva. Bhoktrutva. So basically I am Sakshi, who is a Bhokta. He's going to give a lot of points about how Sakshi is a Bhokta and Chidabhasa is Bhokta. He gives lots of information about it. Let's read 214. एक एव आत्मा मन्तव्यः जाग्रत् स्वप्न सुषुप्तिषु स्थानत्रय व्यतीतस्य पुनर्जन्म न विद्यते. So basically another quotation for Abhokta Sakshi. So Abhokta Sakshi is a part of this Bhoktrutva Nisheda. So well, that is our topic right now, Bhoktrutva Nisheda. But when you say I, the Sakshi is Abhokta, well, that is also part of it. For that, well, he is now quoting from Amrita Bindu Upanishad, 11th mantra. Jagrat Sapna Sushuptishu Eka Eva Atma Mantavyah. In all the three states, Atma Eka Eva Bhavati, means Atma is only one and same, and that is referred to as a Chit, but not Chidabhasa, because Chidabhasa is not one and the same. In Jagrat Avastha, Chidabhasa is associated with the body, mind and senses, all. In Sapnavastha, the nature of Chidabhasa varies. It is only associated with the part of the mind, right? The whole world which is illumined in the dream is none other than the part of the mind called Vasanas, and therefore Vasanas of course are inert, but then whole dream world is basically illumined by this Chidabhasa. And therefore, but that's a different Chidabhasa, just part of the mind. Whereas in a waking state, the Chidabhasa is associated with, that's how we say Vishwa, well, definitely identified with the mind, body, senses, everything, prana, everything. And therefore, that Chidabhasa, well, definitely is different. But Atma Eka Eva Bhavati, this Chit is one alone. So Chidabhasa is a basically exclusive factor, not identical in all the states. So Upanishad talks about one Atma in all the three, and therefore it must be the Sakshi. So it's only one. Saha Mantavyah, that Sakshi has to be known as real I. And definitely also Abhokta to be claimed. Aham Asmi, as I, this Sakshi is to be known as a I. And so Upanishad says, Sthanatraya Vyatitasya, this Amrita Bindu Upanishad says, Sthanatraya Vyatitasya. I am that Sakshi Atma who is not contaminated by these three avasthas. So Vyatitasya, V plus Ati plus I dhatu, and it is Kartariktaha here, Vyatitasya. So basically, who transcends all the three. Transcends all the three avasthas, not contaminated by three avasthas. And while what will be the advantage knowing I like this? Well, advantage is Punarjanma na vidyate. Upanishad says there is no Punarjanma. And definitely Chidabhasa has a Punarjanma. Yeah. It is associated with the mind. So as it travels from one body to other, well, as the Sukshma Sharira enters, Chidabhasa also appears. In between find unmanifest, now manifest, then unmanifest, now unmanifest. So travels from one body to other. So we say Janma. Jiva is born, we say, like that. So basically, Chidabhasa has a Punarjanma, but knowing I from the mixture, right? I is a mixture, I told you. Since I is a mixture, well, understanding Chidabhasa as a Bhokta and I as a Sakshi, which is there in all the three states, and knowing as a Abhokta, well, there is no Janma. Well, then we are worried about Punarjanma of a Chidabhasa. So once you know, because it's a part of I, and so therefore, well, but you once you know Chidabhasa is a mithya, you don't worry, right? And for that only this Jnani has no Punarjanma, because Shastra promises even freedom from Punarjanma of a Chidabhasa for Jnani. न प्रेत्य अस्ते न प्रेत्य संज्ञा अस्ति न प्रेत्य प्रकर्षेण इत्य. Once he is gone, means gone. That's how it is. Because the very subtle body where Chidabhasa appears, that disintegrates. Karana Sharira has already, when he was in this body, that time itself Karana Sharira has literally become like a that very old cloth. Even if you touch it, is going to break. You some of the books you will see, if you just turn the page, it just breaks like that. Why? Because avidya has gone, sanchita has gone. So his karana sharira is almost gone while he was alive. So karana sharira, whatever is there, vasanas and few things are there, karmas, etc., they merge into the total. Understand? Merge into maya, and then sukshma sharira merges into subtle elements. This body, of course, in gross elements. So medium itself is not there. Where is a question of a punarjanma of a chidabhasa now? Medium itself has gone. So sanya is equal to chidabhasa. Brihadaranyaka Vakya, na pretya sanya asti. Now no chidabhasa left over. The very jivatvam is gone. And therefore, that is a promise of a Shastra. That's called Videha Mukti. Shastra promises this freedom from punarjanma for Jnani's chidabhasa, because he has understood chidabhasa as a mithya. And other people also should not worry about, but definitely they should know. If they don't know, they will take themselves as a bhokta or a chidabhasa, then definitely, well, they are associated with the karmas, etc. And for the experiences in the future from sanchita, etc., they will also acquire a new body. So chidabhasa will be born. Jivatvam is there. Anyway, suppose a Jnani worries about chidabhasa's birth, etc., he is not a Jnani. So this is a trick of Vedanta. Okay. So sthanatraya vyatitasya, you can supply there jnaninaha. Who is a sthanatraya vyatita? One who is this jnani is one who says I am sakshi atma, who is not contaminated by three avasthas. Right? And therefore, that's we can say adjective to the jnani. Sthanatraya vyatitasya, who has transgressed from all the three states. If he is associated with three states, he will say Jiva, Chidabhasa. Vishwa, he will say. Right now I am a waker. Over. I am a waker. Oh, fine, very good. Okay. So from the mixture you say, I am a bhokta or a waker, having a waking experiences. I am a deep sleeper, I am a dreamer. If that's what you are saying, then that's not jnana. Verse 215. त्रिषुधामसु यद्भोग्यं भोक्ता भोगस्य यद्भवेत् तेभ्यो विलक्षणः साक्षी चिन्मात्रोऽहं सदा शिवः. Again another quotation from Kaivalya Upanishad, 118 or 21, either. So in one book it is the 18th mantra, in another book it is 21st mantra. And here very beautifully segregation you will see. Bhokta Chidabhasa and Abhokta Sakshi clearly segregated in this mantra, 118 or 21. Trishu Dhamasu, in all the three states, there are 11 triputis. Bhokta, Bhogyam and Bhoga in all the three states are different. In Jagrat Avastha, well, Bhokta is a Vishwa, Bhogyam is a Sthula Prapancha, and Bhoga is a Sthula Vishaya Bhoga. In Swapnavastha, well, the Bhokta is Tejasa, and Sukshma Prapancha or Vasanamaya is a basically Bhogya, and Swapna Sukha Dukha is a Bhoga. In Sushupti Avastha, Bhokta is a Prajna, Bhogyam is this Karana Prapancha or Ajnana, and Bhoga is a Ananda book. So Pratibimba Ananda is Bhoga. Actually, we should know this. It will come in a 11th chapter, but just I will refer to you what happens is, in a waking state, we call it as a Vijnanamaya and Manomaya. Both are present. Vijnanamaya is a Pramata. This is just by the way. Vijnanamaya is a Pramata, Manomaya is a Pramana. And both, at the time of a deep sleep, both resolve. Vijnanamaya and Manomaya resolves, right, in deep sleep state, in ignorance. And that is called Anandamaya. And then in 11th chapter of Pancadasi, there is a big discussion, because the whole 5 chapters, 11 to 15, is a discussion of that Atma Ananda. So in 11th chapter itself, very beautifully, that how can you call the Vijnanamaya who is in the waking state, when it resolves, why would you call it as a Anandamaya? The thing is, when you go to sleep, you go to bed, and just before the sleep arrives, right? Just before the sleep arrives, this the thought in the mind basically is totally introvert now. If it is objectifying various things, well, then there is no sleep is not nearby. But now it has become introvert, as though. It's very beautiful discussion. I can't discuss long, but this is also connected with the waking state also. In any moment of happiness, this thing is happening. So the mind becomes introvert. Means there is no objectification. Mind objectifies certain thing, we call it as extrovert. Mind does not objectify anything. Is introvert means there is an abidance of the mind. Basically, abidance of mind in itself, and mind being nothing but Brahman, right, by nature. So mind abides into Brahman. And at that time, since still you are waking up, you are awake, in that mind, there is a reflection of the self. Nothing else. They call it this particular vritti, a vritti with a abidance. They call it as in our sampradaya as a shanta vritti. Shanta vritti, because there is no objectification by the mind of anything. So that mind objectifies as though itself, its own self. We say abidance of the mind, or you say I am with myself. All this we are using. But I means Swamiji Ahankara, that is what the mind is. Then what else is there? So the I thought basically, objectifies the self now, because it is not objectifying anything else. So either you say abidance of the mind, either you say you are with yourself, or you say mind is introvert, everything is same. And then in that state, there is a reflection of the self. And of course, it's a fullness. And therefore, basically, one goes into the deep sleep state with this sukha vritti. And therefore, this Vijnanamaya has resolved into the deep sleep state as an Anandamaya. And there is a lot of discussion. When 11th chapter comes, I will discuss this. And therefore, since this mind has resolved into the Ajnana, of course ignorance, but with a reflection or with a thought, let us say, which is thought of happiness or sukhakar vritti, it has gone into this, resolved into the deep sleep state. So that Vijnanamaya which was there in a waking state, and Manomaya, of course, is called Anandamaya. That's beautifully described in verse 64 of Pancadasi in 11th chapter. Supti purve kshane buddhi vrittihi ya sukha bimbita saiva tad bimba sahita leenanandamayas tatah. And later also it is there, antarmukhoya anandamaya brahmasukham tada bhungte chit bimba yuktabihi ajnanutpanna vrittibihi. That discussion we are going to get a chance, so I am living right now. And that is what is exactly happening in a waking state also. Whenever you become happy, you are just with yourself. Mind does not basically project anything outside. Either you got a desired object, then mind has turned from extrovertedness to introvertedness. Mind is with itself, and itself is none other than Brahman. Mind is non-separate from Brahman. Basically, everything is by nature, essentially is Brahman. And so this aham vritti basically is just as though objectifies the self now. And so, so the aham vritti is as though takes a shape of the fullness. That's what your experience is. And therefore, in a waking state also, the abidance of mind, we say, in which there is no projection, no extrovertedness, or else you say, I am with myself, etc. Or you say the reflection of the self in the mind, which is very now shantaha, no other projection. Whatever you say. Shastra, well, different acharya says different way. But ultimately, here we are talking about a deep sleep state, in which the object of experience, well, we can say the experience is of a ananda. So anyway, so here in deep sleep state, bhokta is a prajna, bhogyam is basically ajnanam or karana prapancha, and bhoga is a ananda. And of course, it's a pratibimbananda, because sometimes when you come out of the deep sleep state, you say, well, I enjoyed sleep today. Sometimes even if you go to deep sleep state and you come out, you say, but I did not get proper sleep today, it seems. So there also, this is all pratibimbananda. Anandamaya means what? Mayat stands for vikara. And in that same thing in waking state. And sometimes you get a joy which is priya, sometimes you get a joy which is moda, sometimes you get a joy which is pramoda. There also that's what Anandamaya is. Tasya priyameva shiraha, modo dakshinah pakshaha, pramoda uttarah pakshaha, ananda atma. Of course, ananda atma. Whatever ananda comes as a priya, moda, pramoda is ultimately myself only manifest in the mind that is there. But basically, here it says that this Atma, well, basically is vilakshana. Tebhyah vilakshana means Atma is different from all these 9 factors. Sthula bhokta, and we call waker, and sthula bhogyam and sthula bhoga in Jagrata Avastha. Then Taijasa, it's a distinct, Atma is distinct from Taijasa, Sukshma Prapancha, and Swapna Sukha Dukha Bhoga, and also distinct from basically Prajna, and Bhogya Prapancha, that is Ajnanam, and Bhoga, that is Ananda. So basically, Tebhya Vilakshana. So this is what verse 215 says here, which is nothing but the Kaivalya Upanishad mantra 121 or 118, either. I am different from all these 9 factors. And this is beautifully discussed in Mandukya. Nanta prajnam, na bahish prajnam, na ubhayata prajnam, na prajnana ganam. All this indicating not a Vishwa, not a Taijasa, not a Prajna, etc. So Tebhya Vilakshana means Sakshi, I am different from them. Vishwa is a Chidabhasa 1, Taijasa is a Chidabhasa number 2, Prajna is a Chidabhasa number 3, and Sakshi is, well, present in all the 3. That's how Turiya. Turiya means we consider 4th because it is Vilakshana, which is distinct from all the 3, therefore 4th. But, well, basically present in all the 3. And therefore, Chidabhasa can't stand up other than Chit. We know that. So these are my reflections, basically, in 3 mirrors. That's it. It's basically states of a mind, right? When mind is fully awake and identifies with the whole gross body also. I mean, Sukshma Sharira. At that time, that's a medium. And then, well, I reflect into such a mind which is fully awake, then I am Vishwa. And then part of the mind, etc. That's a medium. Mirror. Well, then I am Tejasa. And when my mind resolves, well, basically, I am a Prajna. Why I am Prajna? Why do you say? Because it resolves into Brahman. Why do you say it Anandamaya is still Jiva? That's there. But Vijnanamaya only has resolved. So therefore, Ajnanam, etc. is there. I don't want to discuss actually. It will be coming in 11th chapter. So we'll discuss. In Upanishad it says, well, Sata Somya Tada Sampanno Bhavati. You say you resolve in Brahman. And now you say Anandamaya means that is Jiva, Prajna, etc. Yeah, but Vijnanamaya resolves into ignorance, and therefore still that individuality is still there. And so basically, so they give an example. One Acharya was giving an example that you have a that copper pot, and you have gone to Rishikesh from Ahmedabad, then you want to fill up with the Ganges water, and carry it to Ahmedabad to give people Ganga Jalam, etc. But you bought that pot along with that lead. Sometimes they come close with the lead, and then you dip into Ganges, whatever number of times, but still, definitely, the water cannot enter into that. Same way, this Vijnanamaya, this Ahankara alone, this Vishwa alone, let us say, or a Taijasa resolves into Ajnanam. But the Ajnanam Upadhi is still there, and therefore the Jivatvam continues. So we call it as Anandamaya. Anyway. So this is, and so there are, these three are my reflections basically in three mirrors. So Chinmatraha Sakshi. But Swamiji, you said there's a mirror in a deep sleep state also? Yeah, that's a Karana Sharira. And therefore there are three types of vrittis also are there of a Karana Sharira. All this discussion is there. Anyway. So Chinmatraha Sakshi Sadashivaha. It's always Ananda Sarupaha. Prajna does not experience Ananda. It's as a Sarupa, fluctuating. It's always. Sometimes happy, happier, happiest. Even in deep sleep state also it happens. When you come out, you feel really you enjoy sleep. And sometimes you say you did not enjoy, etc. So, Sakshi does not have a gradation. This Chidabhasa has a gradation. So that Sakshi Ananda, Sadashivaha. Sadashivaha means which is basically Ananda Sarupa. That's how Shiva is always called Nataraja. That posture itself indicates a dancing posture, indicates a joy. Therefore, Shiva is a Nataraja. Means Sadashivaha means always Sadashiva. See? Ananda always, no, the gradation. So, but here it is Sadashiva, means Ananda Sarupaha. And looking at this, so you can't experience original Ananda like this. You can never experience your original eyes. You perceive Pratibimba and you claim, right? You claim about your eyes. Same way you experience this kind of a Pratibimba Ananda and you experience the glory of, you claim the glory of yourself as Ananda Sarupa. That's what we have to understand. 216. Evam vivechite tattve vijnanamaya shabditah chidabaso vikariyah bhoktrutvam tasya shishyate. Now Vidyaranya gives a grand vision of all this teaching. See, after studying all this, we should have a total vision. Like, the big painting, and if you stay close to that, if you stand close to that, you see fingers and eyes and nose and in the painting of a person. No doubt you have a clear vision, but you don't have a total appreciation. So later you go a little, on the behind, and then you see the picture again, the total picture. You will get a total vision. So painting has a total dimension that you go well when you go behind. So when you study with the teacher and study particular verse, etc., and you see the total development, etc., but you see the entire picture when you go behind. So of chapter 6 and chapter 7 and all that, so you get an entire perspective of the teaching, how Atma is ultimately Abhokta or Ananda Sarupa, etc., etc. You get a total vision of the Vedanta. So that is how they say in Shravanam and Mananam, basically teacher goes along with you. And therefore teacher is giving you a clarity. But in Nididhyasanam, teacher cannot come in Nididhyasanam. And therefore Nididhyasanam is kept as an individual exercise where without even teacher and teaching, basically, you look, teaching is there, but you reflect upon the whole teaching in a complete manner. Like you see the Avasthatraya Viveka in a Nididhyasanam very clearly. So either Swayam Jyoti Brahmana or Avasthatraya Viveka, etc. And so you revise. Whole thing you revise on yourself. Right? Here right now we take one Avastha and talk about it. Or take another Avastha and then talk about it. Third Avastha you talk about it. For days together. So that is giving you clarity. But total vision is not there. For total vision, you have to go back. Could you follow? So either you go in a nididhyasanam without the help of a teacher, go back and get a total appreciation, and that is how this is to be understood. So it says here, evam tattve vivechite sati. So in word I, we have seen these two components are there, and teacher has communicated both, that I associated with a particular state is Chidabhasa, and I associated with all the three states is Chit, and in the mixture. And so experienced I is Chidabhasa, recognized I is basically is Chit. Experienced I in a mirror, right? It's a reflection. But what is recognized is your eyes, right? That's what it is. People try to experience I, means bringing out somewhere and keep it in nididhyasana somewhere out and then experience. What is this? What is this? Basic. We don't understand. This experience, nididhyasanam gives me an experience of Brahman. People say that. People, it is ever experience. Every experience takes place because of this. Even your so-called foolish concept is possible because of this Chaitanya. Anyway, so basically I is always self-revealing, self-experienced. Only thing is basically you drop the notions. Then nothing else to, even Vedanta, words of Vedanta don't reveal Brahman. If words of Vedanta reveal Brahman, Brahman is not self-revealing. Words of Vedanta help you to drop the notion about I. If you drop it, you will own up what you are basically, because you have owned up something else in absence of your not knowing your real nature. Anyway, this is so experienced I is Chidabhasa, definitely waker or dreamer or whatever. But basically, recognized I is this is Chit Sakshi. So, next exercise is Yaha Chidabhasa. Well, Chidabhasa component of I, Tasya Bhoktrutvam Avashishyate. Chidabhasa component alone, Tasya means Chidabhasasya. Well, the Bhoktrutvam status, the Bhokta status, well, belongs to Eva. Belongs to only Chidabhasa. Tasya Bhoktrutvam Avashishyate. Yaha Chidabhasa, Tasya Bhoktrutvam Avashishyate. In I, whatever is this Chidabhasa, of course, has a status of a Bhokta. Bhoktrutvam indicates abstract noun. So, enjoyerness. So, means that status. Anyway, so Bhokta status is connected to the Chidabhasa in the I, which is a mixture of both. Sakshi and Chidabhasa. So, Prarabdha Bhoga belongs to Chidabhasa. And after I exhaust my Prarabdha, I identify with the Chidabhasa. Yah Chidabhasa tasya bhoktrutvam avashishyate. And which is what? Vijnanamaya shabditaha. Which is Vijnanamaya. In beginning of Swayam Jyotir Brahmana, I told you when because this 437, which is under discussion, it begins with this, that section begins, the Brahmana begins with the word Vijnanamaya. So the word Vijnanamaya shabditaha. Well, in the beginning of this Swayam Jyotir Brahmana, whatever has been referred as a Vijnanamaya, that is called, that has a Bhokta status ultimately. So, but why do you say Chidabhasa is Bhokta, Chit is not Bhokta? You have not given enough reasoning. Well, there is, if that is a question, well, Vidyaranya says, I am giving you some logic, that there is, the adjective to the Chidabhasa is a Vikari. It's a Hetu Garbha Visheshana actually. So, Hetu Garbha Visheshana means, well, Chidabhasa being a subject to change, it is Bhokta. Hetu Garbha Visheshana means, if you define something for which you use a Visheshana, that Visheshana has that Hetu. That works as a Hetu for the definition. And therefore, Chidabhasa is subject to change. So, Bhokta is Bhokta when he undergoes change in form of a Sukhi, Dukhi, etc. That's a change. So, go through ups and downs, etc. So, Bhokta is always Savikaram. That's our experience also. That's what our experience. Priya Moda Pramoda, in fact, even in Sukha also. Priya Moda Pramoda. And therefore, bhokta is a savikara. Chidabhasa is savikara. Because it is, but why it is savikara? Well, because Chidabhasa is always there in the medium, associated with the reflecting medium. Reflecting medium is the mind. Mind is subject to change, and therefore Chidabhasa is subject to change. So it is bhokta. In a waking state, it is fully awake, full mind, along with the identification with the body also. And you can say even ahankara also, well, fully identified with the full self, Vishwa. And then partially mind. So mind, which is a medium, is not fully awake. Most of the things are sleeping, resolved. In that, such a mind, well, Chidabhasa is there. So that's different. And again, mind resolves into this ajnanam, etc. And therefore, basically the reflecting medium itself is undergoing change. And therefore, the Chidabhasa is going to have a vikara. So to basically, therefore, Chidabhasa being vikari, it is bhokta. So to enjoy that bhokta status, change is prerequisite. Definitely. Right now you are enjoyer of suppose a class. Then you are enjoying really you are having suppose ananda in your mind. After some time you will have a experience of a pain and you take yourself to be a dukhi, etc. So anyway, it undergoes constant change. So change is prerequisite for a bhokta to enjoy, to experience rather. And this is one logic. Other logic is to be bhokta, association with the object of experience also is required. So, well, I can be a bhokta of ice cream, etc. when I associate myself with the ice cream. So, bhoktutvam status requires a bhogya sambandha also. And Chidabhasa is a vyavaharikam. And this bhogya prapancha also vyavaharikam. So, vyavaharika Chidabhasa and vyavaharika bhogya prapancha can have a sambandha. Both belong to the same order of reality. Therefore, Chidabhasa can become bhokta. Sakshi Chit is asanga basically. And so it cannot have a sambandha with bhogya prapancha. Well, bhogya prapancha is a mithya. Atma is basically paramarthika satta. Has a paramarthika satta. It cannot associate. In fact, there is nothing other than Atma from that standpoint. So there is a question of sambandha with bhogya prapancha, etc. And so, definitely, Atma, the Chit, Sakshi cannot be called bhokta. To be a bhokta, ultimately, it has to have a connection with the bhogya prapancha. Then only, you will experience. So that is how Shitoshna Sukha Dukkhadaha. So basically, Matra Sparshaha, Agama Painaha, etc. Matraha means sense organs. Sparshaha means sense objects. Well, the contact between them generates Shitoshna and then Sukha Dukkhadaha. So therefore, contact is required. To have a contact, same reality should be there. Same reality should be there. Chidabhasa is a vyavaharikam because it is basically associated with the mind, which is vyavaharikam. Therefore, Chidabhasa can contact the prapancha, bhogya prapancha, and can be a bhokta, sukha dukkha bhokta, etc. And whereas Chit Sakshi is basically has no connection, asanga. And therefore, Bhinna Sattakayoho Sambandha Nasti. The things of a different order of reality cannot have a relationship with one another. That's how we used to say the boy who is in a waking state cannot marry with a dream girl. Otherwise, he will not say he is a brahmachari. Right? So definitely, even though he marries in a dream, when he wakes up, he says he is a brahmachari. Then how can you say he is a brahmachari? Anyway, this is just by the way. So, tasmat sakshi bhokta na bhavati. That's it. Sakshi cannot be bhokta. Yah vikari chidabhasah tasya bhoktrutvam apekshate. So that is what? Tasya shishyate. Tasya bhoktrutvam shishyate. So out shishyate, that remains with them. Out of mixture, bhoktrutvam goes to only this chidabhasa. Automatically sakshi is a bhokta. So kimichan kasya kamaya shariram anusanjvaret. So you should connect all these ideas with this Brihadaranyaka Upanishad mantra 4.4.12 with that tasya kamaya. For whose sake, well, he undergoes all afflictions of the body, etc. But there is no enjoyer at all, etc. So you are by nature sakshi, abhokta. As a ahankara, you enjoy everything, waking, dream, etc. It's your own status, your own reflection. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.